Today, I want to talk about 5 of the most common mistakes I see people make in retirement. And we'll also talk about ways that you can avoid making these mistakes so that you don't see a major impact on the long-term success of your retirement plan. Mistake number 1, not having a plan for where your income is going to come from in retirement. Income can be the scariest part about retirement, right? We go years and years of getting a stable paycheck to now we hit retirement and we've got to start to figure out where we're going to generate that income from. How do we take our nest egg that we've spent years saving and turn that into income that's going to be there for the rest of our life? So what do I mean by this? How do you start to build out an income plan? Well, the first step is truly just knowing your numbers, right? Most people have an idea of what their Social Security is going to be. If you're married, what your spouse's Social Security will be. You've got to decide when and when you want to start that. When's the best time to start that for your plan? You need to know, will you have a pension? Will you have real estate income? We want to first understand what our fixed income numbers will look like in retirement. But then we also have to know, how much are we going to be spending? What are our expenses? And not just your fixed expenses, your utility, the gas, all that stuff, right? You got to know how much you truly want to be spending. And that includes, how much do you want to travel? Do you have big purchases like new car? Maybe you're buying an RV or building a pool in your backyard. Who knows? Whatever that is, you want to know what those numbers are. Because what that allows you to do is it allows you to set up your investments in a way to help you generate the income you need in retirement. Because we have to figure out, most people cannot cover their expenses just from Social Security. So most of the time, once you know how much you're going to be spending, that's now how you figure out how much you're going to be taking out of your retirement accounts to replace that income. Now, once you have that all figured out, you've got to figure out a way to position your investments in the right way. And that actually leads me to mistake number 2, and that is not adjusting your investment strategy to correlate with your income plan when you get to retirement. And here's what I mean by that, right? Most of us, when we start investing in a 401k or an IRA, we're investing it for growth because it's accumulating money. We're adding money to it each month. Long term, the market's growing. We like to have it growth focused. But then we hit retirement and we've got to start to take money out of that account instead of just adding more to it. And you no longer have as long of a window in front of you. So you have to adjust your investment strategy to correlate with what your income needs are in retirement. So that means if you've been invested fully in growth funds or S&P 500 funds or stocks, whatever that may be, you have to start to diversify this to set aside a good chunk of money. A lot of times I like to say 3 to 5 years of income right out of the gates in something safe and secure, because that is where we're going to start to pull income from to cover our lifestyle, cover those big expenses we may have, cover all the travel that you want to be doing. And we don't want to have this money sitting in highly aggressive, volatile investments, because what happens if year 1 of retirement, you lose 20%, right? The market is down 20%, but you also have to take out $50,000 that year to just cover your lifestyle, some trips, whatever that may be. Or maybe it's more, 50, 60, 70,000. There's nothing worse than being down 20%, but also taking $50,000 or a big chunk of money out, because now that money that you started with that was down 20%, it's not all there to catch the rebound when the market starts to recover, right? So instead, positioning your investments in a way that has your income secure and stable so that your growth in volatile investments can be invested for the long term, because we still want those, right? We still believe the market's going to do well. We just need to give them enough time to handle volatility. Whereas your income, we know you need that now or here in the next few years. So we want to make sure that's secure and protected. If you want a more detailed video of this, I've got it down in the description that walks through our 3-step simple investment framework. So go watch that here when you're finished up with this video. Mistake number 3, having a reactive tax plan instead of a proactive tax plan. This is something I stress to retirees all the time. you want to be proactive when it comes to tax planning in your retirement. And the reason that is because taxes can be a major frustration, concern, whatever you want to call it, for retirees. And that's because, as we already talked about, we spend most of our working years saving into retirement vehicles like 401ks, 457s, 403bs, traditional IRAs, tax-deferred retirement accounts, meaning every time you touch that money, every time you pull money out to take care of your expenses, you're paying tax. So it can be frustrating when you get to retirement and maybe you have $1 million in a 401k. Well, you don't actually have $1 million because you owe a debt to Uncle Sam. And this can be extremely frustrating. And if we believe, which a lot of people I meet with feel like tax rates are going to be going up in the future. So if you're continuously starting to take more money out because of inflation and expenses going up, and your tax rate is going up, that can lead to really high tax bills in the future. And that doesn't even account for required minimum distributions where you may be forced to take out more than you even need out of those retirement accounts, right? So instead of being reactive and just sitting back and waiting to be told how much you have to take out of your retirement accounts and what your new tax rate is, why don't we be proactive, right? That's where I like to look into strategies like Roth conversions to see what if we could maybe pay some taxes ahead of time at a lower tax rate now, rather than letting that money continue to grow tax deferred where we're going to have to take it out at a higher tax rate, right? I'd rather my money grow tax free and eventually pass on to my kids tax free than grow tax deferred where I know that I'm either going to have to pay that tax on it or my kids are going to have to pay that tax on it. So if I'm in the 12% bracket now, but in the future I'm going to be in the 15 or 22, whatever we see tax rates turn into, I don't want to have to think about that. I'd rather just maximize the 12% bracket I'm in right now, because who knows what tax rate your kids will be paying 25, 30 years from now. By the way, if you're new to our videos, we've designed a retirement planning process that we call the Mint for More retirement method. And what that planning process does is it makes sure you have a plan for all 5 of the areas that we are talking about. So if you're curious on how your tax plan or your income or your investment plan could be improved, go below and set up an introduction call with me to see if we could be a fit to walk you through that Mint for More retirement method. Or we also have a quiz below that you can take that gives you an idea of if maybe you need to be implementing more planning for your retirement. So go below, check that out. And let's get on to mistake number 4. Mistake number 4 is not having a plan for long-term care. And what I mean by that is I think we've all seen a family member, whether that's a grandparent, a parent, an aunt, an uncle, somebody that went into a nursing care type facility, and the cost of those places are crazy, right? I have seen long-term care expenses completely deplete a retirement plan over a 2 or 3 year span. And if you go and you look at future projections for what a private nursing home room will cost, in 25 years, it's going to be over $20,000 per month. So having a plan for long-term care doesn't just mean go blindly buy an expensive policy, because I understand they are expensive. And if you're in your 60s, it may feel like it's too late to get one of those, and it may be, right? But what I think people need to be doing a better job of is just knowing what it looks like if they do experience a long-term care stay, right? So we always like to stress test in our plans with our clients, what does it look like if you or your spouse or both of you go into some sort of nursing facility for 3+ years? Can your plan handle that, right? And if your plan can't, well, then that's where we know we have to start looking at ways to potentially improve that, right? Maybe that is a long-term care policy. Maybe there's different types of products that can help combat long-term care, or maybe it just means adjusting your expenses or your investment strategy to make sure that you're feeling better about the long-term success of your plan, even if you go into a nursing home in the future. Mistake number 5 is not having your estate or legacy plan set up properly, right? And this doesn't have to be complicated, right? This could be as simple as, do you have the right beneficiaries on the right accounts? Do you have transfer on death set up? Or do you have a will, or do you need a trust? I have clients that are all over the board when it comes to their true estate and legacy goals, right? Some people say, I want to have a trust and this much is going here and this much is going here, and they want to have as much control as they possibly can. It's very detailed. Or I have another client that once told me he hopes the last check he ever writes bounces. He wants to spend every dime. Now, is that the best strategy? Probably not. But what it told me is he wanted to spend his money, whereas the person that wants a really detailed trust, they want to leave a legacy, right? They want to make sure that they live the life they want to live, but they also want to take care of loved ones and truly have an impactful legacy when they pass on. So there is no right answer to what you want your estate or legacy plan to look like, but you got to know what your goals are. You got to start to think about what that looks like for you. And the other benefit of having this all set up properly is it avoids you leaving a headache for your loved ones when you do ultimately pass away. The more work you put in on the front end to make sure things are set up the right way will lead to you feeling less stressed, but it'll also really help your family members in the future. So I highly recommend reviewing your estate plan, thinking about what you want your legacy to look like, and then going in and implementing that to get it set up the right way. If you would like to learn more about our Mint for More retirement planning method, go below, click the link, read a little bit more about it. We also have a quiz that you can take that will give you an idea if you're getting the proper amount of planning that you should be getting with your retirement, or just go below and set up a one-time introductory call with me to see, are we able to help you possibly improve your retirement plan? So that is all I have today. Subscribe to the channel, please, and we will see you again next week.